The day dawns with a soft, warm light, as if the sun itself were painting the landscape with hues of gold and blue. The camera pans slowly past a deserted beach, the golden sand caressed by calm waves, while the sound of waves gently crashing against the shore. Each scene seems carefully composed to convey a sense of tranquility, a refuge from the chaos. The setting seems perfect, like a moment untouched by the hustle and bustle of the world. The music that begins to play is soft, almost ethereal, a melody that inspires peace but also awakens a sense of something more in the air, something unknown yet to come. As if the calm were merely a facade for something much deeper. It is in this almost utopian setting that the protagonist emerges, a character who, unlike the place he finds himself, carries with him the weight of daily routines, the incessant search for a break from the hectic world. He arrives at the beach intending to simply relax, to forget for a few hours the responsibilities and dilemmas that haunt him. The waves crashing on the shore seem to calm his thoughts, and he begins to lose himself in the simple beauty of the moment. However, fate has its own plans. What he didn't know was that this day would be far from just another day of rest. The camera, still smooth, follows the protagonist as he walks along the sand, taking in the scenery around him. The gentle breeze touches his face, and he feels an immediate relief, as if the weight of his daily life is slowly being lifted. But then something changes in the air. The camera subtly shifts his attention to a distant point on the beach. His eyes begin to follow a figure as it approaches, as if the perfect setting finally reveals a presence that cannot be ignored. Bella Hadid, the world-famous supermodel, appears walking with unique confidence, her elegant swimsuit perfectly contouring her figure. The scene is almost surreal. As Bella walks along the sand, the camera follows her with almost obsessive precision, as if flawlessly capturing her every movement. The sunlight reflects softly on her skin, and the way she moves along the beach conveys a sense of unattainable naturalness. She seems unconcerned with the attention she attracts, completely at ease, as if she were in the center of her own world. For the protagonist, who until then had been merely seeking escape, the sight of Bella is a shock. What seemed like an ordinary day now transforms into something extraordinary and unusual, almost as if he's been transported to a magical, unreal moment. The protagonist, breathing heavily, watches Bella's every step, a sense of disbelief growing within him. He never imagined he would cross paths with someone like her in such a simple place. His thoughts, once calm, are now invaded by a mixture of curiosity and adrenaline. How could he possibly be sharing the same beach as one of the most famous women in the world? What would he do now? The feeling of being faced with something improbable, almost unbelievable, is overwhelming. And then, as if everything were conspiring to make this encounter even more unique, Bella glances at him and, with a subtle gesture, invites him closer. The protagonist stands paralyzed, unsure how to react, thoughts racing through his mind. The feeling of being faced with a unique opportunity, perhaps the chance of a lifetime, mixes with the fear of making the wrong move. How could someone like him, an ordinary person, be in the same space as a figure of such fame and beauty? But the invitation is clear and unequivocal. Adrenaline surges once more, and the world around him seems to disappear. Fate seemed to have conspired for this moment, and now the only thing left was to take the next step. This encounter wasn't a mere coincidence. Something more lurked behind this seemingly innocent encounter. Something that, from that moment on, would begin to change the protagonist's life in ways he never imagined. With his heart racing and his senses on high alert, the protagonist begins walking toward Bella Hadid. Each step is a mixture of hesitation and impulse. He never imagined being so close to her, and even the idea of speaking to her seems surreal. The sound of the waves in the background, which once brought serenity, now seems like a distant noise, almost muffled by the pressure of the moment. The warm sand beneath his feet is his only link to reality, but his mind is far away, lost in the idea that this moment is actually happening. He looks at Bella, trying to remain calm, but it's impossible to ignore the magnetism she exudes. Her every move seems perfectly calculated, as if she were a figure from a dream. Bella, for her part, is completely at ease. She shows no apprehension, as if the situation were natural to her. Her confidence is palpable, and she doesn't seem bothered by the fact that she's being watched so intensely. When she turns, her gaze meets the protagonist, and for a brief moment, The two stare at each other as if the world around them has disappeared. The connection, though silent, is instantaneous. Bella, with a discreet smile, makes an almost imperceptible gesture, a clear invitation for him to come closer, as if it were a completely ordinary occurrence. This simple gesture is enough for the protagonist to feel his adrenaline rush once again. He hesitates, but at the same time, it's as if something inside him is pushing him forward. He can't simply ignore this unique opportunity. Not now, is he? Approaches, his mind begins to race with questions. What would she be doing there on a deserted beach? What did she want from someone like him? He tries to convince himself that she must be like anyone else, but the magnetism around them is undeniable. Bella Hadid, the world-famous supermodel, and he, an ordinary person on a quiet beach. How could this be real? The protagonist feels a mixture of excitement and distrust, as if he's on the brink of something he can't fully comprehend. He begins to wonder if his encounter is truly what it seems, or if there's something more, something he can't yet see. As he gets closer, the scene feels almost cinematic. Bella, with a soft, captivating smile, watches him unhurriedly, as if patiently waiting for him to say something. The centrality of the situation, that feeling of being watched by someone so admired, makes him feel vulnerable and at the same time compelled to act. He opens his mouth, but the words don't come out as he imagined. His mind, once so focused, is now filled with unanswered questions. Bella then breaks the silence. Calmly, almost as if she's read his mind, she asks a simple yet meaningful question. What brought you here? These words, so simple, are like a key that begins to unlock a series of questions the protagonist didn't yet know he had. At that moment, the protagonist's curiosity piqued. He knew there was something more behind the simplicity of that encounter. Something unsaid, something hidden between the lines. There was a reason she was there with him at that very moment. What did she really want? Was everything okay in the supermodel world? Or was this encounter a trap for something bigger, something more dangerous than he could have imagined? The feeling that this encounter was no mere coincidence intensifies, and the protagonist begins to realize that something is about to happen. What once seemed like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity now reveals itself as the beginning of a much deeper and more transformative journey. And he, without realizing it, is already in the middle of it, but Bella's seemingly innocent invitation carries unexpected weight. Her every word, every gesture seems part of a larger plan, and the protagonist feels that if he allows himself to follow that path, his life will never be the same. What begins as a simple approach on a quiet beach soon reveals itself to be the beginning of a mystery beyond anything he could have imagined. And in that moment, he must decide, will he continue or walk away before the storm of revelations arrives? With Bella's subtle invitation still echoing in the protagonist's mind, he decides to move forward. His step toward her is firm, but charged with a silent tension. The surrounding scenery seems to disappear, as if time has stopped. The waves continue to crash on the shore, but now their sound seems distant, irrelevant. The only sound filling the air is the rapid beating of his heart, echoing in his ears. The proximity to Bella Hadid, with her undeniable beauty and charisma, makes him feel as if he's in a dream he doesn't want to wake from. But at the same time, a feeling of unease begins to creep in, as if something is out of place. What did she want from him? What did she expect him to do? Bella, upon noticing his approach, gives an enigmatic smile, as if she knows exactly what he's thinking. The protagonist feels a mixture of fascination and fear, as if he's standing before a door that, once opened, will lead him to a completely unknown world. She begins to walk beside him, her presence imposing yet surprisingly welcoming. She speaks casually, unhurriedly, and with a calmness that seems to disarm any resistance he may have. But as she speaks, her words become increasingly enigmatic, as if carrying a hidden weight, something he can't yet fully comprehend. She talks about how lonely the lives of public figures can be, how rare and precious moments of peace are. She also talks about the costs of fame, the appearances that must be maintained, and the choices she's been forced to make throughout her career. However, she never goes into detail. The conversation, for the most part, is superficial, but the undertone in Bella's words makes the protagonist feel there's much more to her than the simple glamour she displays publicly. It's as if she's offering him a glimpse of something most people would never see, a hidden, more human, more fragile side. But he senses this glimpse is being given in a controlled manner, like bait, and it's hard to ignore the fact that something is being hidden. As time passes, the protagonist begins to feel like he's delving deeper into a conversation with many more layers than he imagined. He realizes that Bella, despite her fame, isn't just the supermodel everyone sees. She's someone with secrets, with a story that's never been told. But what intrigues him most is her behavior. Despite being approachable and even inviting, there's something in her gaze, something in her demeanor, that suggests she's testing him, or perhaps subtly manipulating the situation. It's as if she knows exactly what he's thinking, as if she's playing a game whose rules he doesn't yet understand. Suddenly, the scene changes. Bella, without warning, begins leading the protagonist to a more secluded part of the beach. The conversation, which previously seemed casual, now takes on a more serious, introspective tone. A strong wind begins to blow, and the sand shifts in the breeze. She stops, looks at him with a more intense gaze, and for the first time speaks directly about what brought her there. She reveals that it's not just rest she seeks, but an escape from the pressures of fame. However, her speech is vague and full of gaps, making it clear there's something more she's unwilling to reveal. The protagonist, though intrigued, realizes the conversation is taking an unexpected turn. Bella seems to be opening a door, but not completely. She seems to be about to reveal a secret, but something is holding her back. It's at this moment that the protagonist's curiosity reaches its boiling point. He realizes that Bella's words, while hinting at a deeper truth, are carefully chosen. Something is being left out, something beyond what was said. He doesn't know whether to ask more or wait for her to reveal it on her own. However, his intuition tells him he's closer to finding out than he ever imagined. What is Bella really trying to hide? What is she offering him? A secret that could change his perception of the world as he knows it? Or perhaps something more dangerous, something he's not prepared to handle? The tension between them grows, and the protagonist feels that with each word they exchange, he is moving closer to something profound and transformative. The setting, once so peaceful and serene, now seems to carry an electric charge, and the feeling of being on the brink of something grand and dangerous is undeniable. And yet, he can't stop. He needs to know the truth, needs to understand what's happening. Bella, in turn, senses the change in him and, with an enigmatic smile, suddenly gestures for him to follow her. He then decides there is no turning back. The secret Bella carries within her is about to be revealed, and the protagonist has no idea that, by crossing this line, his life will never be the same.